When I first became a Muslim, I was so excited. I was enjoying my prayers. I was enjoying being Muslim. I felt free. I felt at peace. And then around 3 weeks of being Muslim, I started to feel trapped. I started to feel like I was in a box. Why? Because I started to listen to everyone around me. I started to listen people telling me this is haram, this is the way that you need to practice. This is haram, this is halal. You should do this, you shouldn't do that. And I started to get too into the tiny details of haram or halal, and I lost the entire point of my faith. I was basically letting other people define what my faith is because I was so scared to own my own faith. I was scared that I was doing it wrong. I was scared that Allah is going to uh, like make a lightning bolt strike me if I'm doing something wrong or I make a mistake. But I choose to believe in Allah being merciful, Allah being loving, and knowing that we are just human and that we make mistakes and that we were made weak. We were made with the need to be forgiven. So if we never make mistakes, we can't go to Allah to be forgiven. So my new view of my faith has been my own view. It's not influenced by anyone around me. It's even not influenced by scholars. It is simply based on the Quran and my connection with Allah. That doesn't mean I'm throwing out the Quran or the other commands in the Quran that I haven't gotten to yet. It means that I'm on a journey and I'm on my own journey, and I'm not on your journey and I'm not on your journey. I'm on my own journey. And this had freed me from so much of that feeling stuck and feeling trapped, because now religion is beautiful to me again. And I don't feel trapped in a certain definition of what being a Muslim is. Being a Muslim is someone who submits to Allah. And our journey to submitting to Allah is going to look different from person to person. So don't let anyone tell you that you're less Muslim because you're not fitting a perfect definition of a Muslim, which none of us are perfect. So none of us will fit that definition.
Okay, Anna, your thoughts before I get into it, because once I get into it, I don't know if I could stop. But go on, you go first.
Well, I think she is responding to comments saying that she's not practicing Islam correctly because she doesn't cover her hair and she has like these nail polish, and nail polish is preventing you to do the wudu before the prayer correctly. And there are, of course, rules of what you should eat and shouldn't eat, halal and haram. So I think like this entire video is just a response to all the Muslims accusing her of not being a good enough Muslim, probably. But
Yes.
about your previous point, that yeah, a lot of white women especially gain a lot of popularity because they are white, and if they say like that they support Gaza, or that they became Muslim, their popularity just blows dramatically. It grows exponentially just because they are white. It is seen as the biggest achievement of Islam, that here even white women from the West, they compare to Islam.
Yeah, actually, Anna, I'm glad that you said that because I forgot to give the context. Because I there's this thing called the curse of knowledge, and I usually suffer from it. I usually just assume that people are in my head and know what the context is. So yeah, the context is, for people who are not familiar with videos like this, is that that she is responding to a heavy backlash. So she's a new Muslim, and usually when you have white female converts, there's a lot of appreciate like welcoming, and a lot of people get excited that you're a new Muslim and they welcome you. And then soon after the honeymoon period is over, which is like the first 5 seconds, then you start getting criticized for how you're not being a proper Muslim, especially if you're a new convert woman who's not wearing the hijab, right? So then you get, at first you get like so many welcoming messages, and then you get buried under waves of criticism of like, well, now that you're a Muslim, you need to do this, and this, and this, and this, and you're gonna fail to meet the standards, and then the people that you were so kind to you at the beginning, now you're going to feel a lot of hate and constant messages of like, why are you doing this wrong, why are you doing that wrong. Okay, so she's now responding to that. So, and I kind of feel bad for her, because at first I'm pretty sure she was really enjoying all the positive messages at the beginning, and now I think like she feels trapped. She feels like she's in a box. She feels like a lot of people are like scrutinizing everything she's saying and everything she's doing, and she doesn't know how to deal with it, and this is her way of dealing with it, right? So um I don't know. I kind of feel bad because I'm going to be adding to that, because her views of Islam, he's just like, well, this is my Islam. Her response is, well, that's your Islam. This is my Islam. And unfortunately for her, they are right and she's wrong. And I will show you that pretty soon.
Like,
Go on.
I feel
Yeah.
it has to do that with white skin and light hair and light eyes in the Middle East. They are so
Okay.
rare, like among
Yeah.
the native population, that they are actually a little bit obsessed with white females on a sexual
Oh, yeah, but
level.
definitely. Yes, yes, very, very obsessed. Okay, so I want to start getting into this video. Okay, so um the points that she brought up, and again, I will play it again. She said she feels like she's in a box, she's trapped, but then also she mentions that Islam is submission. I don't understand if how does she not understand? What do you think it feels like if you are supposed to fully submit? I mean, it's in the name. Islam means a Muslim is somebody who submits. Islam means submission. So she's like, I feel like I'm in a box. I feel trapped. I'm like, lady, you are fully submitting. What do you mean? That is, you're supposed to feel like you're in a box. That's what full submission means. Um, Let me actually play it. Go from the beginning.
When I first became a Muslim, I was so excited. I was enjoying my prayers. I was enjoying being Muslim. I felt free. I felt at peace. And then
Yeah, so she says, I felt free, I felt at peace. Again, now she feels more in a box and she feels trapped instead of free. I mean, that's the point. The point of Islam is to feel less free. That's what submission. What part of the word submission made you feel that this is about freedom? That's a contradiction. And like, now I feel like I'm in a box, I'm trapped. I'm like, yeah, lady, that's what submission usually feels like that.
around 3 weeks of being Muslim, I started to feel trapped. I started to feel like I was in a box.
Yep.
Why?
That means you're doing it right. Like you're supposed to, yeah. Submission makes you feel like you're in a box.
Because I started to listen to everyone around me. I started to listen people.
All right, so remember this part. I started to listen to everyone around me. She's saying that as if that's a negative. Remember that part, because I will give you Quranic verses. You're supposed to do that. That's how Islam works. Again, and this is not according to the Hadith. This is according to the Quran itself. I don't want to do Hadith today because she is a Quranist, so she only focuses on the Quran. So I want to make sure that we abide by her standards, because even based on what she agrees on, she's wrong. Even if we ignore
But
the Hadith, but no, yeah,
how can you say that she's a Quranist if she does prayer, right? So she somehow knows how to do a prayer.
yeah. I'm not.
How can
Yeah,
you
you're
know
right.
how to do a prayer without hadiths?
You can't. I didn't say Quranism. I didn't say Quranism makes sense. I said she's a Quranist. Obviously, Quranism doesn't make any sense because you wouldn't know how to do anything in Islam if you only focus on the Quran. But somehow people have managed to be Quranists. But let's just abide by her standard. You act, Anna. You act like this is supposed to make sense. This is religion. Nothing makes sense, right? But yeah.
Started to feel trapped. I started to feel like I was in a box. Why? Because I started to listen to everyone around me. I started to listen people telling me this is haram, this is the way that you need to practice, this is haram, this is halal, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. And I started to get too into the tiny details of haram or halal.
Yeah, you're supposed to do that. Like I got too involved in the detail of what's haram and what's halal, yeah, that is full submission to Islam. I mean, you're not. Here's the thing: it's not expected of you to be able to do all of it right, okay? But it is expected of you to try and do be concerned about what is right and what is wrong. Yes, you're obviously going to fail, and Islamically, that can be forgiven, but you do need to be concerned about it. Go on, Anna. You want to say something?
Yeah, like Muslims believe that the Quran is the word of Allah, the direct word of Allah. Now, if you truly believe in this, the if I truly believed in this, the first thing I would do is to read the entire Quran and like really learn hard what is forbidden in the Quran, what is okay in the Quran, and do whatever I can to just follow the word of God. So she's admitting that she isn't doing this. Like there are Quran verses that telling you that you should eat halal and not haram, that you should dress in a certain way, that you should be uh, that you should behave in a certain way. So
Yeah, well, it doesn't. Most of the so maybe most of the things that you're supposed to do and not do is not from the Quran. Most of it is from the Hadith. So you know, maybe that's what she's referring to. But so what you're supposed to do, I'm not going to, because she's probably only focusing on the Quran or the Hadith, the things that you're supposed to do and not do, I'm not going to focus on what those things are. What I am going to focus on is the fact that the Quran tells you that you do need to be concerned about them, whatever they are, and however you're going to figure out what they are. Again, the Quranists don't make any sense because the Quran doesn't tell you much about all the details of the things that you're supposed to do and not do. But whatever way methodology that you eventually decide to use to figure out what those things are, you do need to be concerned about them according to the Quran itself. So let's continue.
And I lost the entire point of my faith. I was basically letting other people define what my faith is.
So she makes a mistake. Okay. So if other people are telling you what you're supposed to do or not to do, that is not defining your faith. That is them doing their religious duty of Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar, right? This is a Quranic command for Muslims to tell you what is that in English? To tell Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar. Let me see. I know there's an English term for this. Oh, enjoining good and forbidding wrong. This is a Quranic command to all Muslims to go tell other Muslims to do this and not do that. That is not them defining your faith for you. That is them doing their religious duty. And again, this is one of those few commandments that you don't even have to go to the hadith for it. This is specifically mentioned in the Quran itself, and I have the verses for you. So she's just you're the one who's redefining words. You're defining it for them because they're not telling you. If a Muslim comes and tells you that, lady, you're supposed to wear the hijab, lady, you're not supposed to do this, lady, you're supposed to do that, they're not saying you're not a Muslim. They're not redefining their faith for you. They're just telling you that as a Muslim, this is what you're supposed to do, and they're doing it correctly. How dare you not tell them not to do that? This is you're a Quranist. You're a woman who only focuses on the Quran. How have you missed this verse telling those people that this is their duty? So you're like, I was focusing too much on other people's opinions. Well, lady, they're supposed to do that, and you're supposed to listen. Again, I have the verses for you. But let's continue.
Because I was so scared to own my own faith. I was scared that I was doing it wrong.
There is not my own faith and their faith and my faith. Islamically, there's only one faith. There is not, you don't have versions of faith in Islam. Okay, there's only one. The one, this is the concept of Tawheed.
I was scared that Allah is going.
Oh, here's the thing. Now she's saying, look at this part. Okay.
What my faith is. Because I was so scared to own my own faith. I was scared that I was doing it wrong. I was scared that Allah is going to like make a lightning bolt strike me.
So she acts like this is a bad thing. She was like, initially, I was so hopeful and loving this, but now I was so fearful about Allah's wrath. And she acts like this is a bad thing. Islamically, that is a good thing. You're supposed to fear Allah. Hold on, let me finish this. You're supposed to fear Allah. The fear of Allah is a value. It's a virtue Islamically. Being afraid of Allah is something that is advertised. You are a good Muslim. A good Muslim is a Muslim who fears Allah, who fears Allah's wrath, who fears Allah's punishment. So why is she acting like, oh, this was bad? I was fearing that Allah might punish me. Yeah, that's a sign of a good Muslim according to the Quran. Go on, Anna.
And like, if you just read a little bit in the Quran, you will see that almost all the time it is said, fear the day of judgment, or beware of the day of judgment, when so and so on. And like, you can't miss it. It is written so many times about the day of judgment, that you should beware, and Allah knows what is in your mind, and what are you doing, and what are your intentions, even. That um she she says that fearing the wrath of Allah is something bad, but it is integral to Islam.
There we go. I fixed it. All right. Let me continue with this.
Scared that I was doing it wrong. I was scared that Allah is going to like make a lightning bolt strike me if I'm doing something wrong or I make a mistake. But I choose to believe in Allah being merciful, Allah being loving, and knowing that we are just human and that we make mistakes and that we were made weak. We were made with the need.
Okay, so Allah be loving. I have a verse for that to see how loving Allah actually is. We will get to the Quranic verses as soon as we go through this video one more time. So she's like, this part is important. The fact that she thought Allah is loving. But here's the thing again, Islamically, that there's no contradiction. You're supposed to enjoy Allah's love and fear His wrath at the same time. Islamically, there's no contradiction in this. So when she said Allah is supposed to be loving, yeah, He is loving, and if you don't love Him back, He will torture you for eternity. That's the kind of love Allah has. So do you think like, oh, why am I fearing Allah? I thought Allah is supposed to be loving and stuff. Well, Islamically, you don't understand Islam, lady. You're supposed to somehow believe in both of that. That Allah loves you so much and will torture the crap out of you if you do not love Him back.
It wrong. I was scared that Allah is going to like make a lightning bolt strike me if I'm doing something wrong or I make a mistake. But I choose to believe in Allah being merciful, Allah being loving, and knowing that we are just human and that we make mistakes and that we were made weak. We were made with the need to be forgiven. So if we never.
So this being forgiven part, we have to see the things that God forgives and God doesn't forgive. There are certain things that God doesn't forgive. Yes, there are. If you sin as a Muslim, God will forgive that. But the problem of this video is that she's referring to certain thing in Islam which is not forgivable, and I will address that uh, once we go to the verses. Because actually, I can address this right now. So, Islamically, if I'm a Muslim, if I believe in Allah and I believe in Muhammad and I believe in the Quran, and I accept Allah's commandments and His rulings, um, and if I don't follow those rulings, I'll be fine. I could ask for forgiveness. For example, you're not supposed to drink alcohol. You're not supposed to have sex out of a marriage. And as a Muslim, I might do those things. I might drink alcohol. I might have sex outside of marriage. And I'll be fine if I just ask for forgiveness and I'll be good. That's true. Islamically, God will forgive you for those things.